Okay, babes, it's time for another easy crochet holiday gift. I'm not showing my face today because I look busted, but make a slip knot and then chain as long as you want the bookmark to be. We're going to do something called the daisy stitch with star stitch, but if that is too hard for you, just use any old stitch you want. Put your hook into the second chain from the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. Do the same thing in the next stitch, and then skip the fourth stitch from the hook. Put your hook into the fifth stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. You should have 4 loops on your hook. Sweet. Now pull a loop through all of the loops on your hook like that and chain 1. Now you see that little space you just created with your chain? I want you to push your hook through that and pull up a loop, and then pull up a loop through that last chain you used on the last stitch right there, and skip the next chain after that. Mine's kind of small, and then pull up a loop through the second chain right after the one you just skipped. Now pull through all 4 loops on your hook and continue on until you reach the end of the row like this. And now it's time to chain 3 to get to your next row. So in your second row, you're going to start with the second chain from the hook right there. Pull a loop up in that one and again on the next chain, and then skip that first little stitch right there and pull your final loop up from that little hole made by one of the chains on the last row right there, and pull a loop through all of the loops in your hook. And then to start the next one, chain 1 and insert your hook into that first little chain space, the second little chain space, and the third little chain space. Ignore all of the other stitches, pull a loop through, and continue on till the end of that row. Now at the very end of the row, you want to put your last stitch right in there, okay? Just making sure you know that because it confused the fuck out of me. I did 3 rows total, and now it is time to make a little border. I chained 1, and then I went around the entire border with a single crochet just to make it look nice and neat. The one trick with this is in each of the corner stitches, crochet 3 times to get a nice sharp corner. Unless you like your corners rounded, I don't know your life. And when you've gone around all 4 sides, slip stitch the first stitch to the last, and now it's time to add a little flare. So fasten this part off, and then I want you to cut out a bunch of equally lengthed strips of yarn. Mine were like 10 inches long. Fold one in half and then stick the middle of that through one of the single crochet stitches on the short edge and tie it through like this. You're essentially making slip knots. Do it in every stitch down the edge and then cut off as long as you wanted. This is what I did, and now you have a beautiful fucking bookmark. You can give it as a gift, or you can do what I did and kept it because I really, truly, and desperately needed a bookmark.
Okay, so this year for Christmas, instead of buying my friends like a bunch of gifts, I mean, I still bought them a few things, but instead of buying them the majority of their gifts, I decided to make their gifts. I thought it was a great way for me to support small businesses in a way because I decided to crochet gifts. So I bought all these patterns from Etsy, and then I went to my local yarn store and bought some yarn, and I got to work, and I want to show off what I made because I'm really proud of them. So one second. Okay, so the first one I made is for my best friend, Jenna. Now, she is obsessed with plants. When I say that, I mean it literally. She has like 50 plants in her small ass apartment. And this one plant in particular, she has gotten multiple times, and every time she has killed it. So this time I made her one that she can't kill, and that is a string of pearls. Look how cute it is. And also, look at this. It pops out. I'm so proud of the choice of yarn I got for this because look at that. Does that not look like the soil with like the perlite and everything inside of it? It's attention to details for me. Okay, so I made these coasters for my friend Abby. Now she just moved to Vancouver and she has her own place now. So like you need coasters, like you don't want watermarks on your table. So I just made her a pack of 5 different coasters. Little flower ones, they're so cute. So for my friend Emma, I decided to make her a little strawberry bookmark. I think this is good for her because like she loves to read, and that woman is obsessed with food. Like she can eat so much, and she doesn't gain weight, which I'm really sad about, but like she also works out like a shit ton, so good for you, Emma. But I hope she likes the strawberry. And then finally, for my friend Caitlin, she has a cat. I have a cat as well. And something we bond over, our cats and everything. And her cat's name is Toks, and it's like a black and white cat. And I found this pattern on Etsy so I basically made her cat for her. Look how cute this is. And it has a little bow tie, and Now this wasn't part of the pattern, but I decided to add a little butthole just because if you know anything about cats is that they always be showing off their booty hole and they're proud of it. Like, so I think it needed to have it. And it also sits. Look at how cute. And the tail is bendy. There's wire in it. I learned so many different things doing this project. And yeah, those were all the Christmas gifts I made for my friends.
3 Valentine's themed projects using crochet. Pets for your pets. Flowers. Hearts keychain.
Swagger down the street with your red lips and funky beat. You better hold your head up to the sky. I'm gonna roll with you till the day I die.
Doing this very cute puff border on this blanket, and I thought I'd show you how I'm doing the puff stitches. So I'm going to be going into this stitch here. So first of all, we're going to go around through the stitch, grab a piece, and you can do exactly that process again, and you can do that 6 times. So that was the first time. Grab a piece, pop it through the stitch, grab a piece. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're doing that 6 times, like the first half of a UK treble. Then you're going to grab a piece, put it through all the loops on your hook, and chain to seal.
Look at this. Oh, perfect. Oh my God.
Isn't it great?
Chris.
I know, it's my dream.
I have goosebumps everywhere.
How to crochet a granny square. This is the method that I use, and it gives you a nice seamless look, and it should prevent it twisting as you work across the rounds. This will be in US terms. So firstly you want to make your slip knot, and then we are going to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to slip stitch into that very first chain to create a little circle, a little loop. You can use the magic loop for this if you prefer. I just find this a little bit more secure. And we're going to work our first round into that hole there. So to start, we're going to chain 2, and that is going to count as our first stitch, and then we want to 2 double crochets into that circle. So here is our first one, and then our second one. So that gives us a group of 3 stitches, which becomes the first side of the square. And then we're going to do a corner, so chain 2, and then we're going to do 3 more double crochets into that circle. So there's 1, and 2, and you can crochet over the little tail, that's fine, and 3, and then we're on to another corner, so we're going to chain 2 again, and then 3 more double crochets into that loop. So this will be our third side for our square, and then we want another corner, so we're going to chain 2, and then the final set of 3 double crochets in the circle to give us the final side of our square. And then for our final corner we want to chain 2, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top of the chains that we did at the very beginning. There we go. So as you can see, we've got 4 corners, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on each side we have got 1 group of 3 double crochets. For the next round, round 2, we're going to have 2 groups on each side. So I'll show you what I mean. We're going to turn our work, we're going to slip stitch into that space, and then we want 1 group of 3 in this chain space, and we'll do another one in the next chain space in a second. So we're going to chain 2, do 2 double crochets into that same space. That's our first group for this side, and then we're going to move to the next chain space and do 3 double crochets in there. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. And remember, we're on round 2, so we know we've got 2 groups, which means we've come to our corner. So we're going to chain 2, and whenever we chain 2, we know it's a corner, we know that our next set is going to share the same space as the set we just did. So 3 double crochets in that same space, and that's how we create the corner. And then we go into the next chain space. There's 1, 2, and 3. And again, if we look, since our last corner, we've got 2 groups of 3, and this is round 2. So we know we're at a corner, so we're going to chain 2. And again, we know that means that our next group of 3 goes in the same chain space. So 1, and 2, and 3, and then we move over to the next space and do 3 more double crochets, and of course we've got 2 groups again because we're on round 2, so we're our next corner. So we chain 2 and 3 double crochets again in that same space because we are in a corner. There we go, and then on to our next space, 3 double crochets in there, and this is our last one. There is the third one, so let's have a quick look. So as you can see, each side has 2 groups and then a corner, 2 groups and then a corner, 2 groups and then a corner, 2 groups, so we've just got our final corner to do. So chain 2, and we're going to slip stitch into the top of the original chain 2. And actually you can use a stitch marker when you do that chain 2 at the beginning of the row so that you know where you're joining to, if it makes it a bit easier for you. So we slip stitch into there. So now we're on to round 3. We're going to turn our work and we're going to slip stitch into that space like we did last time. And because we're on round 3, we know we're going to want 3 groups of 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, on each side. So we're going to chain 2, 2 double crochets into that same space. That was our first group for this side. Into the next space, 3 double crochets, and then into the next space. At this point we can kind of see it's a corner anyway, so counting the groups of stitches is handy for the first few rounds, just to make sure you get the corners in the right place. So there you go, 1, 2, 3 groups, so we know we're at a corner. We're going to chain 2, and again we know that we want the next one in that same space because we've just done a corner. There we go, and then we want 3 double crochet in the next space. You're probably getting the idea now. And then 3 double crochet into the next space, which will be our third set of 3, and of course we're on round 3, so we know that is the final one before our next corner. So chain 2, and again in that same space we do 3 double crochets because we are at a corner. And then 3 double crochets in that next space. I'm going a bit quicker because you're probably getting the idea now. And then 3 double crochet in the next space. Again, we are on round 3, so we know that this being our third one since the last corner, 1, 2, 3, we are at our next corner. So chain 2, 3 double crochet in the same space because it is a corner. There we go, 3 double crochet in that next space. There we go, and 3 double crochet in that final space. Again, you can add a stitch marker at the beginning of the round when you do that chain 2, just in case you want to see it easier, and there we go. Let's chain 2, slip stitch to that beginning chain, and let's have another quick look. So we have got 3 groups and then a corner, 3 groups and then a corner, another 3 corner, another 3 corner, and that is because it's round 3. I'm going to do one more round and then show you. So that was round 4. I'm just going to fasten off and then snip my yarn. There we go. So as you can see, for round 4 we had 1, 2, 3, 4 groups of 3 double crochet and then a corner, and that is basically how you work it up. So for round 5 you would have 5 groups on each side and then chain 2 for the corners. Round 6 you would have 6 groups and so on. And you can either make lots of little granny squares and sew them together to make a blanket, cardigan, whatever you like, or keep going round and round and round, building it up to make a nice big blanket. So there it is, that is how I make my granny.
I get asked a lot what crochet hook brand I like, so let's have a chat about my most and least favourite crochet hook brands. So here I've ordered some hooks from least favourite to most favourite. At the top in my least favourite are plastic hooks. I really don't like plastic hooks. I find them quite grippy and difficult to crochet with. I prefer metal, but it's just a personal preference. Some people prefer plastic or wooden hooks. I also don't like the pony brand hooks, and they're the ones that are the same colour as these plastic hooks, but they're like a covered aluminium. So I haven't liked them for such a long time that I don't actually have any of them anymore. So I can't show you them, but yeah, I don't like them. I find them really grippy and difficult to crochet with. They're hard to hold, and it's like you're fighting with the hook as you're trying to get it into the stitch, or when you're yarning over and pulling through, it's really difficult. So yeah, definitely don't recommend the pony brand. So the next ones I'm going to talk about are these just cheap metal ones. They usually come in a set with a different colour for each size hook. I mean, for what they are, they're all right value for money. I mean, if you buy a set on Amazon, they're quite cheap. If you buy them individually on somewhere like Wool Warehouse, they're a good, £1.50, £2 each. And I just think if you pay an extra £1, you can get a much nicer hook than these. But yeah, they're a solid choice for your first few projects. They're nowhere near as grippy as the pony brand, but they're nowhere near as nice to crochet with as the more expensive hooks. You do fight a bit when you're crocheting with them, and they don't have a particularly long gap between the bottom of the hook and the thumb grip. So yeah, those are those ones. Now this hook is a Knit Pro brand, but I'm using it to represent those sets of hooks you can get in Amazon that don't have a brand, and they're basically just those coloured hooks at the top there that have a plastic handle. I don't think they're worth the extra money than the hooks without the handle. So yeah, I don't recommend those. I think that some of the sets on Amazon look a lot like the more expensive Clover & More hooks that I'm going to talk about, but they're not, and they're nowhere near as good quality. So yeah, don't get them. Get these instead. So these hooks are Clover brand and they're the Soft Touch range. So these are the hooks that everyone online seemed to be using before the Clover & More became popular. I will pop the name on the screen now. They are much easier to crochet with than, say, the Pony brand or the cheaper brands. They've got a much slippier hook, but they're nowhere near as nice as those more expensive hooks. The other thing is they have a flat handle, so depending on how you hold it, if you hold it like I do, like a knife, and I don't roll it in my hand, then they're fine. If you roll your hook in your hand, that flat handle is not going to work for you. So then these may not be suitable for everybody. But I'm talking about my personal preferences here, so you may have different hooks. You may really like the cheaper ones, for example, or the Pony brand ones. So yeah, just take everything that I'm saying with a pinch of salt and apply it to how you personally crochet. So, right, I'm going to skip the tulip hook and we're going to have a look at these hooks. So these are Clover brand again, but they are the Amore hooks. So they're a bit of an upgraded version of the Soft Touch. So these are so lovely to crochet with. Honestly, my crochet improved so much when I started using these. They're so slippy and easy to crochet with. My tension is always even. They've got a round bit of the handle at the bottom, so it's lovely to grip, but they've also got this slightly flat bit for your thumb to be on. And they're just they are a dream to crochet with. They're so comfortable. I get barely any pain in my hands or my wrists from these. And because they're so slippy and easy to crochet with, my tension is so even. And I can crochet quite quickly with these hooks where I can't get up to that speed with cheaper hooks. So if you're looking for a hook to invest in, I'd recommend trying like one hook of your most used size in the Clover & More range. I do get them from Wool Warehouse. Like I said, I'll link them in the description. And these really are my favourites, and they are a favourite of a lot of people out there. It's usually these or the Tulip Etimo that I'm going to talk about soon that are people's favourite hooks to use. So if you're having trouble, you feel like you're fighting with your hook, your stitches are uneven, maybe try a Clover & More and see how you go. So now I'm going to talk about this. So this is a Tulip Etimo hook, and although I prefer the Clover & More, this one is fine. This is a fine alternative and is a lot of people's favourite hook to use. So the Tulip Etimo range comes in a few different colours, but they're all basically the same. These are a bit more expensive than the Clover. So on Wool Warehouse, the tulips are like £8.59, whereas the Clover & More are like £6-7. And I much prefer the Clover & More for a couple of different reasons. Like I have used this for the tulip for the last couple of projects that I've got. So if you look at the hooks, these are similar sizes, but they've got a different shaped hook. The hook on the tulip sticks out a bit more than the Clover & More. And I've found that it's much more likely to catch your yarn as you're doing those pull throughs. So I think that if you were using a splitty yarn, you might struggle with the Tulip Etimo. I've had to change the way that I crochet to accommodate that shape of the hook. So yeah, the other thing I don't really like is the fact that the handle where the thumb is concave. I have hypermobile joints and it was just giving me so much thumb pain. So then I had to hold the hook above that concave and it was really uncomfortable to hold, but it may work for you better than the Clover & More, so it might be worth a try. Anyway, so yeah, those are my hook preferences. What hook is your favourite to use? Let me know in the comments.